All right, hey y'all, welcome back to the Cheating on My Religion YouTube channel. This is something that is just kind of like a little passion project for me as I figure out kind of where I am in the realm of spirituality. And so I wanted to just bring you my religious or spiritual background so that you can kind of understand where this pull all came from for me. And so again, my name is Sarah Ives. I live in Richmond, Virginia. I'm 35 and have kind of been on a spiritual journey my entire life, but kind of just now understanding things in a different way really than I ever have. So before I was born, my dad decided that he was feeling the call to become a pastor. My dad grew up with a Jehovah's Witness mom and a Southern Baptist dad, and so he didn't really have anywhere to connect within that realm. And so my dad was really never that spiritual until he became an adult and started to have kids, married my mom, and then started to feel just those different pulls and eventually felt the call to become a pastor. And so that calling was before I was born. And so my childhood, for the most part, was watching my dad pursue this journey of becoming a pastor, hearing him preach, watching him complete seminary school. Sometimes that took him away from our family because the school was out of town, but we all just supported it. My dad has a heart for mission and always has. We joke as kids that he would invite the Jehovah's Witnesses in and offer them coffee and convert them. And, I remember being a child and my dad being away on mission trips and just being super excited about that and never really thought any other way about it other than that my dad was pursuing his spirituality. So as a child, seeing my dad do that, and then also we actually lived across the street from the church that we went to. That's how my dad realized his initial calling. My mom and dad both grew up in downtown Richmond, and after they got married and decided they were ready to have kids, they kind of moved to, the suburbs a little bit outside of the city. And that happened to be in a big house that was across the street from a church. And so they started to explore, and you may hear kittens meowing in my videos sometimes or cats falling out of the window. That's just par for the course because we have a mini zoo around here. But anyway, we grew up across the street from a church. My parents moved into a house and then, started to have kids. They had my sister and then they had me. And so we grew up across the street from a United Methodist church. We went there from the time we were born until, my family eventually years later decided to pursue a new church. But because of that, I, went all through children's ministry within the church, children's church on Sundays, whatever children activities were going on at the church. And then all through youth group, me, my brother, and my sister, all of us went up through youth group. We did confirmation where you learn all about the Bible. We were all baptized at a young age. I think I was between like 7 and 9. And I didn't fully understand it at the time. I told everybody I was going to get hypnotized, which as an adult is one of the jokes of the family. But we grew up going to church. If there was something happening at church, we were there because we lived right across the street from it. And it was just like second nature for us. We didn't have, kind of anything else there. It was church. Like that was what we did as a family. So when I was in youth group, I did all of the youth group stuff. I went on mission trips. My now husband, I met on a mission trip when we were younger, and I was a youth group leader. I led retreats and organized and planned retreats and stuff like that. And so the youth council, that we called it, I was the president of that for a little while. And so I was very, very active in youth group. I was speaking in front of people about my spirituality. I was organizing Bible studies and that kind of thing for youth in the area. As an adult, there's not very much left after youth group, at least in the United Methodist Church where I was associated, there wasn't really much left after youth group. So when I graduated high school, it just kind of became like my own journey to figure out. And so I, still went to church. Eventually a friend of mine asked me to help volunteer with his youth group. And so I helped him as an adult lead his youth group at his church, and eventually felt like my calling or my purpose in life was to be a full-time youth group leader. And so after I had worked in an office for a long time, after I had not really committed to college or community college or any of the things that I had tried to pursue, I went ahead and got serious about college and enrolled in classes online with Liberty University. Love my education, super grateful for it. I have an associate and a bachelor's degree in religion with minors in Christian counseling and church ministries because I felt like my calling again was to be a full-time youth director, youth leader in a church capacity. And so after working in the same office for 6 years, all while I was in school and stuff, I graduated from college and applied at a local church that was hiring for a full-time youth director, and I got that job. And so I left my office that I had worked in for 6 years and transitioned to the church, and I thought that that was the dream job. I thought that I was right out of college and had already secured my dream job. I was the full-time youth group and young adult leader at this church, and so I was responsible for all of the youth group activities, and I was responsible for all of our young adult ministry activities. So after high school till about 35, 40-ish age, what the young adults are considered, I was responsible for those kinds of activities. And so I grew a healthy community there. I had great relationships with the youth that were there, had great relationships with the young adults, started some new things, evolved some things. And then I was let go from that church. I was let go for some pretty superficial things, some things that I don't necessarily agree with. And so I kind of began to struggle and wrestle with feelings because I felt like I had put all of this work into college, had graduated college, had gotten my dream job that I thought, at the time was the dream job, and then got fired from it for some pretty silly reasons. So I began to just kind of question. I went through a phase of not understanding really who I was. That was actually the second church that I was let go from. Before that, I had gotten a part-time job as a youth leader in a church, and they decided to let me go as well. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm okay with that now. But at the time, I thought that there was something super wrong with me and my spirituality. And so I have always kind of felt a pull to exploring other types of spiritual things. But because of being religious, being United Methodist, if you know much about United Methodism, you know that it fits right into my brain because it's called United Methodist because there's a very methodical doctrine that they follow. And I resonate with that. I believe in that. I have to have everything organized and in line. And so it just I believe in the same things. I agree with the beliefs about baptism, confirmation, marriage, all of those things. But because I had been let go from these jobs that I thought were what I was supposed to do, I was questioning everything. I was questioning my spirituality, and I just went through a time in my life where I wasn't active in church. I wasn't even going anywhere. I wasn't doing anything really spiritually for myself. All through growing up and my sort of early adulthood up until now, I have felt, again, that pull towards other spiritual practices, like believing in the power of energy, believing in grounding, meditation, yoga, crystals, using crystals and the energy in crystals, using essential oils, using just all kinds of things that as a religious person, I always kind of was told were like taboo and not really to believe in things like that. Like crystals and energy were considered part of like magic and we're not supposed to believe in that kind of thing. And so I always just felt a little like disconnect, because I kind of on the inside knew that these things would help me, but was also kind of told that I wasn't allowed to pay attention to them. And so I was just questioning everything, had no idea what was going on. Fast forward to this past summer. Again, I just, kept on hanging on with whatever I could spiritually. I was so intense and so involved in spirituality when I was younger that it was kind of like a breath of fresh air to not be so involved. But I still felt the pull to these certain things. And so this last summer, I was blessed with the opportunity to be able to travel to Utah for a retreat. And during that retreat, we met with an intuitive life coach. And this intuitive life coach helped us work through a grounding experience. And that experience was one of the things that just completely changed how I am viewing things now. We just stood with our bare feet in the grass, feeling the energy around us. Like, y'all, the tears weren't even touching my face. They were just pouring out, right? Because I could feel that energy, and it's something that I never felt like I could explore before. And on this same retreat, a friend of mine who is very spiritual, very religious, I've always kind of looked to her as a spiritual mentor. We got to talking about this topic, about feeling like you're pulled to certain things, but feeling like they're, not allowed or whatever. And I mentioned this, I believe, a little bit in my last video, but she said just one sentence that has fully changed how I am thinking about everything, and has now been kind of the beginning of starting the ball rolling for this YouTube channel and for the things that I am exploring. And what she said was that crystals, energies, stones, oils, the ingredients that are in oils like incense, teas, all of those things and the energy behind them come from God. God created the world, God created the universe and everything in it. And all of those things come from God as well. And y'all, when I tell you that it flipped a switch in my brain and made me realize that I can explore things that make me feel grounded, that are also spiritual and bring me close to God and the universe, like, it's been on ever since then. And so that's what started sort of the idea, or started the ball rolling for this YouTube channel, this creation, and these spiritual practices that I'm exploring. So I wanted to come and give you a little bit of my religious background so that you can understand why I'm now choosing to explore these things and what they're doing in my life, if that makes sense. So if you're a religious person, if you grew up in a religious family, or even if you didn't and you've just never explored this stuff, you are who I want to speak to, because it's a pull that I have always kind of felt on the side. I've always felt pulled to understanding crystals and stones and how they work. When I was a kid and we would go to the museums or wherever we would go, and they would have those giant stands that had all of the different gemstones and things in them, I always wanted to go around and explore and, make a little bag of stones. But it was always like this taboo thing that we weren't really supposed to do, right? And if my parents let us, bring home a little bag of stones, it was just because we wanted a rock collection or something like that, We never talked about the spirituality of energy and of things that are in this universe and part of this planet. So, as someone who is 35 years old and who grew up in a religious home, in a very spiritual home, we still to this day pray before every single meal we have together. We all say the blessing, we all talk about things openly. We talk about our spirituality, but this is something that I've just always felt like it was wrong to explore it. And now that I understand, thanks to my friend, that these things come from God and come from the universe, and if they come from God, then why aren't they here for us to use? it started a whole new spiritual journey for me. And so that's what I'm bringing to you, is this spiritual journey that I'm on. And I hope that there's someone somewhere out there that has been struggling with these same feelings and you can relate to this. So what I'm going to give you are the things that I'm exploring, the things that maybe I'm ordering online to get into, the things that I didn't understand that I'm understanding differently now, how I'm fitting things into my life. And I'm just going to give you sort of a video journal of me exploring new things in my life. And hopefully it will resonate with someone out there and you will understand that you can explore the things that you want to as well. So again, I just wanted to give you a brief background of my religious spiritual history. I grew up United Methodist. I went to college for religion. I was super active in youth group all growing up. And I'm just now at 35 exploring different types of spiritual practices. And so I'm super excited to bring these to you to help you understand that whatever your religious background is, things can still be helpful for you. And I hope that you understand that these are just my opinions, my feelings, my thoughts, things that work for me, things that help me, and things that propel me forward in life through spirituality. Because y'all, if your energy, your spiritual energy, your business energy, your relationship energy, your self-love energy, if all of those things are not aligned, life is going to be super dull and super boring, and like you're just not going to be as happy. When your energy is aligned and you're understanding your spiritual self, things will start to change. And when I started to do more research on these things, which we'll get into in later videos, I really had my mind blown. And I'm super excited to let y'all know about all of those things. So this was just a quick recap of my spiritual background so that you can understand where I'm coming from with the rest of my content. So I appreciate all of y'all being on here watching. If you get something out of this, give me a like, leave me a comment, hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you get notifications when I put up new videos. Share with your friends, and we're going to be on this spiritual journey together. So I love you guys already, and I will see you in the next video.